It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
I think the number one thing is that obviously the agents are going to try and push for the lowest terms possible. And they are saying things like, oh, well, we've got an offer in front of us. It's unconditional. So therefore meaning that there's no finance clause, there's no building and pest clause. And we absolutely will not go to contract under any circumstances with either of those two clauses missing.
And that is Jade Fitzgerald in Brisbane. We'll get back to that conversation in just a moment with another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, your knowledge-based property podcast. We are here 7 days a week from all corners of the Australian market. Not sure where you are, but let us know. It is a Wednesday, August the 27th. The price of rent for even the most modest apartments have soared, squeezing tenants already battling the cost of living crunch, as reported by Domain. Have a listen to these figures. In Sydney, the median one-bedroom now, if you want to rent, that is costing you $675 a week. That is up from $470 a decade ago. Melbourne sits at $495, Brisbane $530, and Perth is at $542. So it is little wonder that the rising rents are making it harder to save a deposit for first-home buyers. You know, this really is the Achilles heels for anybody wanting to get a foot onto the property ladder, unless you are living with mum and dad, but that isn't always the case. And then you reach a certain age and your parents want the house back. They want you to move out. So right now, let's catch up with Jade Fitzgerald. She is in Brisbane and a buyer's agent. And good morning to you, Jade. Welcome into the Real Estate Breakfast. Where to start? Well, I think first off, households are feeling more confident after the Reserve Bank's third rate cut, pushing that cash rate down to 3.60%. Consumer sentiment is at its highest in 3.5 years. People are feeling more upbeat. Are you feeling that where you are?
Good morning. And yeah, that does seem to be what's happening in the market at the moment. Our phones are running hot with people looking to join and enter into the market, feeling like they really need to get the speed behind them. Once they've got their loan that's approved, they seem to be really rushing to market then. And the thought of sort of spending months on end looking and searching is definitely over. People want to get their mortgage approved and get out there and spend it as quickly as possible while the rates are what they are.
Yeah, if you have a look at the time to buy, which is a dwelling index, that jumped 10.5% for August and is 37% above last year. As you say, buyer confidence is lifting, and with it, so too, here we go with the run-up to Christmas, the return of FOMO.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I think it's just with the market moving as quickly as it is as well. You have people sort of heading out and going and looking at properties on a Saturday, and then the agents are calling them that afternoon saying, we've got offers in, you need to basically sign a contract. They're not even allowing people really to sort of get to a position where they've got solicitors looking over contracts anymore. They're trying to get, signatures on contracts and presenting them to vendors and getting a deal done that Saturday. So it is that fast. People hit the ground running and think that they've got all their ducks in a row and they're lined up and they're ready to move. But what they don't realize is it is actually that quick, and the decision needs to be made in sort of a few hours. If they don't make it, they're made to feel like that they might miss out on it. And then there's decisions being taken in a very, very quick turnaround time.
You are in Brisbane. It is heating up, as you say. Sharp gains and homes selling within just a matter of days of the listings. Buyers are discovering that hesitation can be costly. But you're a buyer's agent. How difficult is that when these agents are saying, you've got to act now? I mean, as far as the solicitor is concerned, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure that your professionals are across this. Don't feel in any way bullied into making a rushed decision, because that can always lead to nightmares after the contract. But yeah, coming back to you, that's your job, isn't it? To really make sure that everything is lined up and that they're not sort of being too forced into something.
Oh, look, 100%. I feel that just about all of our job is making sure that our clients feel confident and comfortable in the decisions that they are making. And yes, that does come down to a lot of, advice and direction that we can give our clients. But in saying that, if people want to put their contracts through solicitors, and it is so different in every state. In Victoria, the solicitors draw them up. In Brisbane and obviously all the rest of Queensland, it's very different. The agents can draw them up. The new Form 2 that we've seen come in has also changed the environment a little. So there is a bit more protection for the buyers there, but it is still buyers beware. There are still things like your flooding and, koala sanctuary zoning and those sorts of things that need to be considered when you're buying the property. And with this fear of missing out and the FOMO that is happening within the market, it is pushing people into making these really fast snap decisions. And they are potentially the things that are being missed and not being seen by the buyers. There is a bit of a thing of people are like, oh, it's all hype and all of those sorts of things. But even on this weekend, I had an offer out for a client. They're not local. It was in the $1.4 million range. The agent put so much pressure on for the Saturday afternoon, and we're still waiting today for an actual result. So it's sort of this made up kind of speed that's being forced out into the market that, potentially we don't need to have, but the momentum is there.
Yeah, so you don't want to be fooled is what you're saying with the speed of the market, because some agents will do that. They will just say, hey, we've got all these different offers lining up. You've got to act really fast. Just talking about those $1 million range properties, they are driving the urgency with that particular cohort. Are you surprised, given the last rate cut, just how much heat in that particular range has started to dominate?
Yeah, to be quite honest, 2-3 years ago in the Brisbane market, we were buying that sort of 450 to 600. 100% those transactions would transpire over the course of a weekend. But that shift and entrance level into the market is now more around that $1 million mark. And so you are seeing over a, 12-hour period, really, a transaction transpiring in that early $1 million range. And it is the new sort of real fast moving. You used to be able to have a bit more time. People would be able to do multiple inspections. There'd generally be an inspection during the week and on the weekends. Now you're seeing one inspection happen on a Saturday. That is, it's still only going for 30 minutes, by the way. And then, people are going in and that expectation, especially with an untrained eye, walking through a property, is this the one for us? And then throwing offers in by that afternoon. It's sort of this really confronting, I think, situation. It is a lot of money that people are looking at spending, but with 1.1 being the median house price for Brisbane now, it's actually our entry level. And so you have all these first-time buyers out there and they are spending $1 million as their first purchase, and it's terrifying. They're being locked into these contracts at that price point. And yeah, it is about sort of being prepared before you get even into the property as to what's happening in that suburb, that street, that area, if people can find the time to do that.
We are talking to Jade. She is in Brisbane. When we come back, I want to ask her about the terms and conditions that you are putting into a contract and just how quickly things can turn around for you if those are set up right. We're back after this.
Let's fuel your passion for property together. Join us, along with our industry experts, to help inspire and inform your next real estate decision. Ready to take your real estate knowledge to the next level? So are we.
And it is a Real Estate Wednesday. We are talking to Jade Fitzgerald. She is a buyer's agent in Brisbane, which is definitely got a lot of heat in the market. People are transacting very quickly. And that brings me on to that whole question about terms of conditions within contracts. The easier it is for the vendor to accept, the more likelihood that you're going to be preferred over anyone else. But there is a real skill, and a lot of people don't pay as much attention to terms within contracts. So just give us a flavour at the moment on what you're dealing with there in Brisbane.
Same old, same old. The agents want as few terms and conditions as possible. And look, when you're selling a property, you want a pit bull of an agent, absolutely doing the best thing for you. But when you're buying, you've really got to try and protect yourself as you move through the process. I think the number one thing is that obviously the agents are going to try and push for the lowest terms possible. And they are saying things like, oh, well, we've got an offer in front of us. It's unconditional. So therefore meaning that there's no finance clause, there's no building and pest clause, and we absolutely will not go to contract under any circumstances with either of those two clauses missing. And if the agent really wants to push it through, we will walk away from the deal and the house rather than sort of allow those things to happen.
How many of those unconditional contracts that you've been told from an agent exists, then you say, okay, yeah, we're kind of out at this stage, we're not going to be able to compete with that. And then what happens is you get that inevitable phone call saying, well, actually, that's fallen over that contract, you're back in the game.
100%. And I love those ones. But more than anything as well, what I tend to find is, and this is about having confidence in the market, and, you know, we're regularly buying, and your average person is lucky if they buy one or two properties in their lifetime. So we just won't take it. And I think at the end of the day, being able to have the confidence to turn around to an agent and say, well, that's great. And look, if they do have an offer, which is a cash offer, and there are no terms there, and that is an actual real thing, then great, good for them. But if they don't, they will always come back to you and say, well, you know, it's not the best one, you're not the most attractive, but we'll present it. Great. Well, go ahead and present. Obviously, a cash offer will always win out if they're out there, but very few and far between. I'd say only 5% of our clientele have cash. And so that's quite a small amount out in the market. We know the statistics for it. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the background sometimes that's happening. And it's just vital that people not only have their finance clause in there, but then also their building and pest inspection clause. I think, you know, with the Form 2 coming into play in Brisbane, / Queensland, we now have this new vendor's disclosure statement. So it is potentially out there protecting the buyer. But it also still needs to have that backup of a building and pest inspection done in the background. And any agent that tries to talk you out of that as well, don't run from that deal. Generally, if you're just confident enough and stand your ground and you know that you're doing the right thing and we're asking for the right terms, don't make them crazy, make them within a reasonable time frame. 7 days for a building and pest should be plenty. 14 for finance is the standard in Queensland, and that should be enough for you. In other states, in New South Wales, it's longer cooling off periods is what I've been asking for there. In Victoria, it's different again, but they've got a good turnaround time for building and pest inspection there as well. It's just so different throughout the country for everyone who's buying, so it can be hard to get the right advice. So it's good to always talk to someone within your state as to what's happening. By certainly, being pushed by real estate agents into trying to put through contracts, no matter where you are, without any conditions, it would be of grave concern to me to sign any contracts like that.
You've got a good BS radar, Jade, so thanks for explaining all of that, letting our audience know just how much heat at the moment is in the Brisbane property market. And thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast. Enjoy your Wednesday out there.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's been great.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.